Hello and welcome back to Inside the Inferno. I'm Paul Schultz, and joining me at the desk is Connor McGill. Connor, how have you been?
Pretty good, Paul, but I guess that you got to be more excited than me right now because this is your anchor debut.
Yeah, thanks for the warm welcome. I'm excited to be here, and let's start off today's show with ASU football. The Sun Devils improved to 3-0 in Pac-12 competition with a win over Stanford last Friday in Tempe. Let's check in with Griffin Greenberg for a recap of the last few games.
Thanks, Paul. Over the past 2 weeks, Arizona State football has had some pretty convincing wins. The Sun Devils went into the Rose Bowl to face UCLA on October 2nd and played a stellar all-around game as Jaden Daniels threw for 286 passing yards and threw 2 touchdowns, both to Ricky Pearsall, who had 132 receiving yards. Those passing stats plus Daniels' rushing stats in the win were good enough to win him Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week honors. Ladarius Henderson also won Pac-12 Lineman of the Week. The running backs held strong as both Rashad White and Chip Trayanum rushed for over 60 yards and combined for 3 total touchdowns. Anthony Cooper also had a big game, tallying 2 sacks as the Devils' defense shut out UCLA's offense in the second half and won by 19. Last week, the Sun Devils took on Stanford in Tempe. As Daniels threw for just 175 passing yards, he didn't need to do that much in the passing game because the rushing game for ASU was superb on both offense and defense. ASU finished with over 250 rushing yards on offense and allowed just 13 rushing yards on defense. The defense had 3 interceptions. Evan Fields finished with 7 tackles, and Tyler Johnson finished with 2 sacks, 3.5 tackles for losses, and 1 forced fumble, which helped him be named the Pac-12 Defensive Lineman of the Week. The Sun Devils beat the Cardinal 28-10. These wins helped ASU move up in the rankings at the number 18 spot in the top 25 college football rankings. Back to you, Paul.
Thanks, Griffin. And now we look at this week's matchup with Utah and bring in ASU football analyst Ryan Blank over Zoom. Ryan, what do you have for us?
After a win over Stanford last week, the Arizona State Sun Devils traveled to one of the toughest environments in college football as they take on the Utah Utes in Rice-Eccles Stadium. The past couple of weeks, ASU has found its rhythm with a dominant victory over the then 20th ranked UCLA Bruins in an upset win at the Rose Bowl. And then they had a huge win last weekend over the Cardinal at home, who beat the then third-ranked Oregon Ducks the previous week. Tonight, the Pac-12 South lead is up for grabs between the 2 lone undefeated teams in conference play. With a win, the Sun Devils will control their own destiny in winning the Pac-12 South and playing in the conference championship. The Sun Devil offense has been able to dominate through the air and on the ground the past couple of weeks. Against the Bruins, quarterback Jaden Daniels threw for a season-high 286 yards and 2 touchdowns. Against the Cardinal last week, ASU ran for 255 yards. It was the 3rd time this season that they've eclipsed that mark of rushing for over 200 yards on the ground. This week, the offense will be tested against the 3rd best defense in the Pac-12 that allows just over 340 yards per game. The Sun Devils will need to strike early and get a lead to put pressure on the Utes defense and use their rushing game to set the tone throughout the course of the matchup. This season, the Arizona State defense has been the best in the Pac-12. However, they have a test against a dynamic Utah offense. For the Utes, sophomore quarterback Cameron Rising replaced Baylor transfer Charlie Brewer as starter before their game against Washington State, and the Utes are 2-0 with him under center. Last week, he threw for 306 yards and 3 scores against UCLA. In the run game, Utah has a trio of running backs that could cause trouble for the Sun Devil defense with Micah Bernard, Tavion Thomas, and TJ Pledger. Each back has had one 100-yard rushing game in the past 3 games. However, ASU has not surrendered 100 yards to a running back in one game this year. It's easy to say that the battle in the trenches is an emphasis and a key throughout the entire game. With a win, the Sun Devils will improve to 4-0 in conference play for the first time since 2007. Back to you at the desk.
Thanks, Ryan. You can check out all of his content on infernointel.com. Now let's move over to the other football, and for that we have soccer expert Jerry Walker.
Thanks, guys. It's been a rough start to Pac-12 play for the Sun Devil soccer team, who sits winless in their first 5 conference games, managing only 1 draw against Washington before losing 4 consecutive. Last weekend, the Sun Devils traveled to Oregon for 2 games against Oregon State and the Oregon Ducks. ASU dropped the first game at Oregon State 2-1, with the lone goal coming from Nicole Douglas in the last minute of the game. This was Douglas's 14th goal of the season, moving her into a 3-way tie for the most goals in the country, with Georgia's Molly Bellel and Hofstra's Miri Taylor Taylor. This also was Nicole Douglas's 41st goal, moving her into 3rd place in all-time ASU rankings. The second game of the weekend against the Oregon Ducks, the Sun Devils were shut out for the first time this season 1-0. Following a home game against the Washington State Cougars, the Sun Devils will be back on the road, this time traveling to the Bay Area, with games against Stanford on October 21st and Cal on October 24th. I'm going to kick it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Sherry, for the terrific insight on the Sun Devil women's soccer team. Now we move on to the basketball court with an update on the ASU women's basketball team. We go to our reporter, Emily Bernstein, with more.
Thanks, Connor. This year you will see more action from the Arizona State women's basketball team, as the Pac-12 network will air at least 20 of their games this season. Last season, the Sun Devils only had 18 games aired on the Pac-12 network. This year will be the first time since 2019 that ASU will have a non-conference game aired on the network. As for Charlie Turner-Thorne, she is entering her 25th season as head coach for the Sun Devils. This year, Taya Hansen and Jaden Simmons return after leading the team in scoring last season. For ASU, the comeback forward of Jade Van Hefty is huge, as she missed the 2020-2021 season with a torn ACL. Turner-Thorne also hit the recruiting trail this offseason, adding a trio of transfers, including 2021 All-Mountain West performer Jade LaVille. To top it all off, the Sun Devils added Meg Newman, who was the 33rd ranked recruit in the 2021 class. ASU opens up their season against Northern Colorado on November 9th at Desert Financial Arena. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Emily. And now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, Inferno Intel Headlines. And this week I have a very special guest up here making her Inferno Intel debut, in Ireland Horvat. How do you feel?
I'm super excited to be here. So up we have Cameron McGee, incoming freshman infielder, is now continuing the ASU legacy with his jersey number 8. Brandon McGee, his older brother and former ASU football alumni, also wore number 8 on the field. Brandon played football for the Browns and the Buccaneers and was drafted in the MLB by the Red Sox. It's great to see family legacy continue in the Sun Devil family.
For sure. And speaking of the Sun Devil family, ASU hockey is moving out of its childhood home soon of Oceanside Arena at the end of the season. Here you see Tim Lavelle passes to Jack Doan, who puts away the filthy wrist shot. Doan now leads the NCAA in assists, but you see his goal-scoring ability there. And Ireland, I heard he wasn't the only goal scorer on ASU's campus last week.
He was not. LeBron James had a guest appearance at ASU last week. He was walking around campus when ASU volleyball and men's tennis ran into him for a quick photo. I'm a little mad I wasn't there. What about you, Keith?
Given that I'm a Bucks fan, you know, not the biggest LeBron fan, but it still would be great to see the
LeBron.
king.
It's
exactly. He's not as great as some of the players on ASU's basketball team, if you ask me, but he is a legend nonetheless. Back to you guys at the desk. That's it for us with headlines.
Ireland and Keith, thank you for another exciting edition of Headlines. Now let's send it over to Sam Valenti for this week's Sun Devil Update.
Hey there, Sun Devils. This is Sam Valenti here with today's Sun Devil Update. In this edition, we're going to take a look at former Sun Devil baseball star Spencer Torkelson, who's now playing for the Salt River Rafters in the Arizona Fall League. The 2020 first overall pick by the Detroit Tigers said he is excited to be back in Arizona, and he has not disappointed in his return so far. In his first 2 games, Torkelson went 2 for 6 with a double and 3 walks, showing off his bat and his discipline. His double tied the game by driving in 2 runs, proving that his clutchness has definitely carried over from Arizona State. The baseball world expects big things from Torkelson, who looks to join such names as Reggie Jackson, Barry Bonds, and Dustin Pedroia as Sun Devils who made their mark in the majors. Well, Sun Devils, that's been your update for today. Have a golden day, and back to you, anchors.
Thanks, Sam. It's always exciting to keep an eye on Sun Devils as they move up the ranks in pro sports. Let's welcome back Griffin Greenberg as he takes a look at the first few games of the ASU hockey season.
ASU hockey started the season off at the Oceanside Ice Arena and won their first game there, beating UMass Lowell 5-3. The Sun Devils then dropped their next 3 games, 1 to Lowell and 2 to Denver. After those games, there's been a few questions from the Sun Devil squad so far, one starting at goalie consistency. Last season, we saw a mix of both Evan DeBrouwer and Cole Brady protecting the net, and as DeBrouwer transferred out, Ben Cross transferred in. Now, here are some of the highlights in that opening night win for the Sun Devils, and as you can see, Cross did pretty well after settling in. He started that opening series as Cole Brady was out due to illness, but when Brady returned, he gave up 7 goals against Denver before the team brought Cross in to close the game. Brady did settle down a bit the following day, but ASU still lost 4-3. The Sun Devils have mostly been making their mark on the power play this season, as ASU's 11 of their 13 goals have happened with a man advantage on the ice. Star forward Matthew Copran registered an incredible 9 total points in their series against Lowell, and this goal in the first game against UMass Lowell was his first of the season. He also leads the nation in points, power play goals with 4, and goals with 5 in those first 4 games. Transfer defenseman Tim Lovell and freshman forward Josh Doan had 11 combined assists in the team's first 2 series. ASU is currently playing against New Hampshire, who was actually 9 for 9 on penalty kill in their first 2 games, so it will be interesting to see how the ASU power play unit matches up against the Wildcats penalty kill unit when in penalty minutes. While they've been incredible on the power play, ASU hockey has to generate more offense when on full strength and look to jump out to early leads with the help of their defense, rather than playing from behind, which has happened in each of their first 4 games. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Griffin. Now to the pool we go as the Sun Devil women's swim team gets ready to open their Pac-12 campaign under the direction of USA swim coach Bob Bowman. For more on the meet, we go to Dylan Dayton.
Hey Sun Devils, this is Dylan Dayton here with a preview of Saturday's women's swimming Pac-12 opener. The Sun Devils come in ranked 22nd against the Washington State Cougars. This will be the first meet for many of the new freshman athletes that have joined the roster this season. Freshmen Charlie Brown and Isa Adame will provide a new spark for this squad, and I, along with the rest of our crew here at Inferno Intel, are very excited to see them compete. It will also be the very first time many of the veteran swimmers have swam in a pool competitively in over a year. Lizzie Spears will be returning for her redshirt junior season, and the hype around her recent times has really made her rise in popularity. This season's ranking at 22nd is a major improvement from the previous season in 2019. The Sun Devils finished with a 3-6 record on a 1-game winning streak that year. For Washington, they finished up their last season on a 2-game winning streak, finishing 4-1. The last time these two teams competed against each other was in the 2017-2018 season. The Sun Devils came out on top that matchup, winning with a final score of 177-83. If you want to see a full recap of this meet, please check out the Inferno Intel website. That's all from me today. Hope you enjoyed. Back to you, Connor.
Well, that is all we have for you today.
If you haven't already, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Inferno Intel. And to stay up to date on the latest in ASU athletics, be sure to visit our website, infernointel.com.
For Paul Schultz and our entire crew here at Inferno Intel, I'm Connor McGill, and we'll see you next week.